This is the 21st year in a row that I've spoken at this Ag Forum, a Missouri State University Ag Forum. As you know, they have a great program. It's really in that 21 years grown from a fledgling program to one of the best ag programs in the middle of the country. We're going to talk about the challenges facing ag country, the importance in farm country of having high-speed broadband, how tax policies should be working to encourage farmers, young and old, to think that investment in the farm is good, and of course about what's going to happen in world food demand over just the next decade and a half. World food demand is going to double. Nobody's in a better place than we are in Missouri to take full advantage of that, and we should be thinking about it right now. Well, you know, the floods in northwest Missouri looked an awful lot like the floods looked in 2011, and of course if you're the people that I work for there, you're beginning to wonder now, why can't we get this right so that we are doing a better job preparing for floods? The truth is that, you know, you don't control the rain, and particularly this time you didn't control the rain, the unusual rain in Nebraska, so that river was part of our problem. But I think we're going to look at some pretty high water all down the Missouri and down the Mississippi for most of the rest of the spring. And you know, the one thing you do learn if you become a senator from Missouri is the levee issues, the inland port issues, and the river issues. They're slightly different than the issues we learn here in southwest Missouri. You know, to have an emergency, you've got to have $9 million of demonstrable loss. I think we're going to have that without any question. But what we have done is got the 4 states involved in this flood. I've got those placed in the upcoming disaster supplemental bill. And so we're getting in the line we need to get in. And then in future months, when we really know what the amount of loss is, then we'll try to work hard to be sure that we can make every single federal program work the way it should, so that our people affected by the flood really have whatever relief is available to them. And so we should do that next week. There's some discussion among my Democrat friends on the other side that they don't want to vote for this disaster without yet more money for Puerto Rico. But this is really supposed to be the 2019 disaster bill, not the 2017 disaster bill. And Puerto Rico's already in position to get any remaining money they still need, and hopefully that'll be the conclusion that at least 60 senators reach, and we'll move forward with that bill next week. The other thing I did today was go to the Special Olympics regional bowling and tomorrow basketball in St. Joseph. You know, that was an issue this week. The president has submitted a budget that talked about cutting the relatively minor percentage of Special Olympics that comes from the federal government. But clearly that was not going to happen. And once the president saw the response of me and others to that, he looked at what his staff had submitted and said, no, we're going to continue that funding, which among other things funds a program that I wrote the original legislation for in I think 2001 or 2 called Healthy Athletes. That's the healthcare screenings that occur with Special Olympic events all over Missouri and all over the United States. And I remember the first one I went to on the Southwest Missouri State campus, now the Missouri State campus, but then it was Southwest Missouri State. Some young guy about 25 had his glasses that he'd just gotten that day, and he said, softball's a lot easier when you only see one ball. And you know, Special Olympic athletes have a lot of challenges like that in hearing and vision and even shoe size that Healthy Athletes has done a lot to help correct in that environment where young people are challenged in other ways and young adults are challenged in other ways, still had to have a chance to be part of a team, to be out there competing and performing and achieving a level of success in sports. And I think Special Olympics is really important. As it turned out, the president agrees with that.
So did you actually speak to the president, or how did you let him know that you were not?
Well, I was asked about it. I chair the committee that funds that, and I said, no, we're not going to eliminate that funding in this bill. And but that was after the Secretary of Education had a pretty brutal hearing, and actually my comments probably cooled us down until the president could look at it again. and decide, no, we're going to move forward with that funding, and we'll be marking that bill up as soon as we have a chance that has all the health and human services and education and Department of Labor issues in it, and those affect a lot of Missourians and a lot of people all over the country. Well, I'm on the Intel Committee. We've been looking specifically at the collusion issue for 2 years. I think our report will come out now in the next 2 or 3 months. We'll be able to finish our report, waiting to be sure that Mueller didn't have anything we didn't have. We've looked extensively at this. Our chairman said about a month ago that we hadn't found any collusion, so I'm not surprised about that. I really think that both the administration and the country should be eager and willing to get this behind them. There are plenty of things that the president talks about that can generate a national debate. Now, I generally agree with what the president wants to do, but a lot of people don't. Let's talk about those things instead of try to create problems that Mueller, who our friends on the other side just a couple of weeks ago were saying was going to be the ultimate source. Okay. And during that whole process, I said, no, we don't want to slow down the Mueller report. We want to let the Mueller report get finished, and that's what's happened now. And so I think time to move on. And if I was the president, I'd feel good about this. And I think everybody in the country should feel good that that is hopefully largely behind us for all but just whatever kind of political discussions people may want to have.